All right. Let me know if it's on TikTok. Get this thing going. All right. Welcome to tonight's broadcast of the State of the Union Address. I'm your host, AT. This is Faith Under Fire, special episode that we're having today. I'm waiting for Caitlin to come in and give me a thumbs up or scream that she's able to see me over on TikTok. We're going to dive into it today. We've got a lot to dive into. It should be a really good State of the Union address. We're going to start with the very beginning. Say again? Outstanding. Feel free to say hi, whatever you're logging in on today. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes, diving into the stream today. Looking forward to seeing you all here today. Enjoy the show. Welcome back, everybody. This is Faith Under Fire. Once again, we are doing the State of the Union Address. It's set to kick off at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and so we wanted to come here a little bit early to give you a little bit of coverage before we dive into the actual address here. And so I'm going to dive in. Some of the resources I'm looking at here is going to be a few news stations like Fox News, AP, and everything else in between. This is a huge time for our country as we look at whatever President Trump is going to come out and address before we get into this next year, the rest of the year for his presidency, and getting a chance to put benchmarks and barometers to figure out how he is doing, if he is finding success, and whether or not we're going to continue to see this golden age, this idea of making America what it needs to be. So whether you're tuning in on TikTok for a lot of you over there, or if you're on YouTube, which is the primary platform we are streaming on today, thank you for being here. Let's talk about the State of the Union Address. A lot of individuals don't actually know what the State of the Union Address is. And so I want to make sure we're talking about that first, diving into this entire event so you understand exactly what it is that's going to be discussed, why it's important, and where this is coming from. The State of the Union Address is more than a ceremonial speech. It's one of the clearest opportunities each year for a president to outline what the administration wants Congress to accomplish, from tax policy and immigration to national security to economic priorities. In many ways, it serves as the administration's agenda-setting moment for the years that are coming ahead. And when we look at what's happening this year, as a reminder, once a year, we have a chance to do a true State of the Union address. It's a little bit different than perhaps a press conference that's come up or any kind of urgent news that may have popped up. This is something that has always been scheduled since they started doing the State of the Union address. And we remember last year, Trump had an opportunity to do this address. And we're going to talk, as we do this pre-show, about some of the pageantry that happens during the State of the Union address. Now, This speech also signals what the White House's views as most important. What's most important to the president? What's most urgent to the executive branch? Are they meeting the initiatives that they set forward on? And the entire world is going to be looking at this address. The issues mentioned and those that are received little or no attention kind of offer insight into what the president intends to focus on for political capital. We know going into this, there's a lot of topics that have already been discussed, like illegal immigration, probably being number one in the minds of a lot of liberals across the country who are going to be tuning in. But there's a lot more that's on the executive branch's plate that hopefully we get a chance to hear about tonight. And we're going to dive a little bit more into that so that when the actual State of the Union starts, which you will be able to watch right here live, either on TikTok for as long as they keep me up. They tend to like to ban me for reasons. You'll be there with Caitlin. She's over there keeping you all company. Or if you're here with me on YouTube, we're starting off this channel. So if you are here, thank you for being here. I'm talking directly to the Carrie Davidsons of the world. Going back to the State of the Union, beyond just the policy, this event carries incredibly large symbolic weight. It is one of the few occasions when the president and the members of Congress and the Supreme Court justices and military leaders gather in the same room, underscoring the structure of the federal government before a national and I would argue international audience. Shortly after the president's remarks, the opposing party is going to deliver an official response, offering a contrasting vision and highlighting the political divides shaping the current moment. This year, Abigail Spanberger, who is the new governor of Virginia, is going to be delivering the dissentation against whatever it is that comes out in the State of the Union address. We may or may not get a chance to actually see that broadcast on this channel tonight, but hopefully you'll stay with me throughout the entire presidential address. I want to give you a little bit more information as I was diving into just the State of the Union, everything that happens, what it looks like. I kind of want to talk about where it got its name, the State of the Union. Because when I was going through school, I remember being taught, I'm just a bill and everything else from Schoolhouse Rock. We learned about the branches of government, which most Americans can't answer to this day anyway. But I never actually was taught, why is it called the State of the Union? Where did that come from? And so I did some research here. Once again, a lot of the information from the sources today are coming from multiple news sources. Wall Street Journal is included, CNN. Yes, I know we may or may not like it, along with Fox News and everything else in between. Now, going back to the State of the Union, though the Constitution stipulates the president from time to time give to the Congress information of the State of the Union, end quote, the president's addresses were originally simply referred to as an annual message for very obvious reasons. The term State of the Union was first used by America's only four-term executive, which was President Franklin D. Roosevelt in the 1930s. The term proceeded to come into common usage under Roosevelt's successor, President Harry Truman. The first time the address was officially referred to as the State of the Union was under Truman in 1947. This was also the first State of the Union that was going to be televised, as it has been ever since then. Now, beyond controversy around specific presidents' agendas and policies, the State of the Union address itself was once considered controversial. I would argue that it is still considered controversial to this day. Both President George Washington and John Adams gave in-person addresses. However, the practice was stopped by President Thomas Jefferson, with some believing he considered it to be too monarchical, right? Too symbolic of the monarchy that is left. So Jefferson instead simply sent letters to both houses of Congress, a practice that was followed by presidents for about the next 112 years. And obviously in 2026, we still have a State of the Union address, and it's going to look a lot different than what maybe we saw before when it comes to back in the day of maybe being able to have a little bit of decorum, maybe the opportunity to figure out what our initiatives are moving forward. But obviously, the State of the Union address is focused around the executive branch. We don't go here to necessarily hear from certain House members or from the Senate. We're here to hear from President Donald J. Trump. And so it's important that we remember going into the State of the Union address where President Trump stands on certain issues. Now, while Donald Trump is doing his final read-through of 2026's Union address, which is what he's spending a lot of the time today doing, members of Congress are typically preparing whatever their response are going to, where they're going to be, right? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, but I want to figure out, where does Trump stand when it comes to certain key times issues before we go to this prime primetime address throughout the entire nation. Donald Trump is heading into the State of the Union with about a 44% approval rating from voters. That's according to a Fox News survey. You're going to see varying different numbers when it comes to approval ratings. It's why I'm not personally a fan of leaning on those, because who are you going to believe? One presidential cycle says that Hillary Clinton is going to win in a landslide, and we saw how that turned out. So maybe we're not listening to polls, but the idea is that there's a lot of individuals out there who still roll with President Trump. It's been that way since his first term. Whether you like the man or not, let's not forget that President Trump is the most popular president amongst their own political parties since that metric has been recorded. That doesn't go away, and it's something he brings coming into a highly controversial State of the Union tonight. Now, the economy is of top concern to voters in 2026, regardless of what poll you look at, with only a quarter of voters reporting in January's survey from Fox News that they were better off financially than they were a year ago, while more than 4 in 10 say the administration's economic policies have actually hurt them. Another 4 in 10 think the policies have had no effect. And so we see a divide here. When we look at the political arena of the United States of America, that should not be very shocking. There's a group of individuals who, no matter what, are going to always say Trump is awful, he's done everything wrong. And likewise, we have to accept the pendulum swings both ways. There's a lot of voters who, no matter what he does, are going to say that it's great. And so the real question we have to ask is not just how we feel economically, but how are our individual communities, our cities, our towns, our states, our counties, how are they actually growing? Because if we just focus on an inflation number, if we just focus on one metric like the gas price, for example, which, by the way, shout out, is down across the United States of America, we risk missing the entire point. Continuing here, 2026 marks Trump's first official State of the Union address of his second term, as his 2025 joint address to Congress was not formally classified as a State of the Union. So going back to last year, for those of you who dive really, really deep into politics, you may remember that it was not called a State of the Union address because it was delivered early into the new term as an address to a joint session of Congress, which is a tradition presidents follow in inauguration years. So this is technically his first State of the Union address in his second term. Now, approval of Trump's overall job performance as of January stood again about 44%, earning 85% approval among all Republicans and 97% among Republicans who identify as MAGA supporters. I think a lot of individuals who do play in the political arena are not surprised that there's Republicans and then there's actual conservatives, as opposed to those who are rhinos, Republican in name only. We see here that for those individuals who believe in the Make America Great movement, the red hat and everything associated, 97% are supporting what President Trump is doing, which, one, not a surprise, and two, whether you like him or not, is tremendously impressive. Now, his approval rating is sitting roughly 2/3 higher than former President Barack Obama's rating in January of his second term, and roughly the same as President George W. Bush's approval during the same period. Keep that one in your back pocket, especially going into the speech, because coming up to this point, rhetoric from the liberal side of the House has been that he's doing awful, that he's having a horrible presidency, his approval rating is dropping, he should be ashamed. And while officially on this channel we align with Christ as opposed to aligning with the president, we like to look at the actual reality. We have to hold every single metric equal across the board. It is not unlikely that he would be in the situation he's in right now, as we see by the metrics. He's above where Biden or where Obama was at. Biden didn't get a second term, so we can't compare him to that. And we look at Bush, who was the most recent example we have for that metric. And we're seeing something that is incredibly similar. And so I want to dive a little bit deeper here, if you don't mind, into what we're actually going to be seeing when it comes to this State of the Union address and what's top of mind for Americans today and what they hope to hear as they go through this speech, as it comes down to what we're focusing on beyond just the economic impact, right? And I want to talk specifically about Iran. So as President Trump takes the House chamber tonight, a central foreign policy question still looms large, not just in the United States of America, but throughout the entire world. Is he preparing for a strike on Iran, or is he going to pursue a diplomatic path? There have been rumors circulating that by this weekend, actually, Trump might be announcing some form of military action of a formal sense against the country of Iran. This is something that a lot of defense contractors, a lot of military personnel, even veterans, myself included, are looking at this to see, is this going to be the next frontier? Is this going to be where the next conflict happens? This question has been thrust to the forefront amid ongoing nuclear negotiations and what U.S. officials describe as the largest American military buildup in the Middle East since before the Iraq war. I have pushed back on that. I don't know who these officials are, and obviously on this article, it's not been named who they actually sought out for this information. But to say that it was the largest buildup since before Iraq is a really bold statement. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but we have some numbers here to support this. The U.S. has shifted more than 150 aircraft and multiple carrier strike groups into the broader region, while talks between U.S. and Iranian officials are slated to continue in Geneva this week. But diplomats on both sides acknowledge substantive gaps still remain. Trump has emphasized that diplomacy remains his first choice, though he has openly warned that Iran has only a short window to agree to stringent terms or face pressure. In June of 2025, the United States struck Iranian nuclear facilities as part of a broader Middle East conflict, an operation the White House had significantly set back Tehran's enrichment capabilities. A lot of you remember that night, by the way. Before I continue reading this, I remember that night hearing about what had happened. I think the world has forgotten a large part of military might, about American military might, what we're capable of doing on the international stage. The world hasn't. To be clear, the world does not have the short-term memory that often plagues a large amount of Americans, but we have forgotten. And especially after Biden's presidency, whether you liked it or disliked it, we can all agree that military might was not something emphasized during his term. If anything, a very strong argument can be made for how the military was weakened during President Biden's term with the integration of DEI policies and initiatives while cutting spending for the military overall and not focusing on our warfighting capabilities, something that stereotypically Republicans do not align with, as opposed to wanting instead to increase military might and being able to utilize it on the world stage in order to pursue American interests. We saw that happen in Iran. We saw it happen in the South American region. And tonight, we're going to see if we have any mention at all whatsoever about Iran. One of the questions people will be looking for is he going to bring it up? Is he going to talk about what's occurring? And if so, are there going to be any kind of actions that are called on tonight? Or will there be something put in front of Congress for them to consider in the next few weeks? Now, analysts and lawmakers alike will be listening for even subtle cues pointing towards whether the White House sees a diplomatic breakthrough ahead or is bracing the country for escalation. Key things to watch for include how Trump frames the Iran talks, any references to U.S. military readiness, and timelines or conditions that could signal the administration's next move. Positive for some, if you're someone invested in war, for lack of a better expression, but not something that we want to lean towards. Anyone who's been there before knows you don't rush to go into any type of situation that could pursue escalation when it comes to the topic of war and conflict between the United States and with Iran. Now, not just economics, not just Iran. I would be remiss if I did not talk about the obvious elephant in the roof, at least for those individuals that live in the United States of America. Illegal immigration. And yes, it is illegal immigration. I know a lot of individuals don't like that expression, but we like to call a spade around here. Whether you refer to it as migrants, illegal immigration, and it's something that is breaking the law of the United States and is being enforced by this administration in a way that is either being celebrated by those individuals on the right. You hear things like, this is exactly what I voted for, or being demonized by individuals on the left, highlighting some of the most niche and obscure cases that seem to try and paint ICE in a horrible light while ignoring the consequences of bringing in criminals, bringing in pedophiles, bringing in rapists, bringing in murderers, and everything else in between. This is something that has been utilized by mainstream media and liberal talking heads to divide the country as much as humanly possible. When you ask the individual American who voted, statistically speaking, odds are they're going to support going against illegal immigration. They'll support the deportations in one way, shape, or form, and they'll support cracking down on some of the benefits that have been given to people who have illegally crossed our borders, remain in this country unapologetically, and have the audacity to be upset that someone tries to tell them otherwise. Is Donald Trump going to bring that up during this conversation? Will it be a figurehead? And we'll talk about later on as we get ready for this broadcast, but how are the liberals going to respond to that? We have a lot of liberals who are not even going to be in attendance at tonight's State of the Union address. A lot of people just don't want to be involved. And I believe I saw the number of 5 different programs that liberals are putting on at the same time to go against this. And this is a direction that the United States of America is going when it comes to either the political arena like the State of the Union address, or even things on the entertainment spectrum like we just saw with the Super Bowl. Typically, one side does something that is wildly popular or has always been that way, aka we typically have a music performance during the Super Bowl and we have a State of the Union address pretty much every single February outside of an inauguration year. So if it's someone you don't like, we always know that we can't support the other side. That's typically the message that's put out to Americans. We should be divided. There's nothing that brings us together. I would like to say at this point in time that Christ does, but don't worry, that's something that's also been demonized. Instead, let's focus on our own side, our own team. Let's be in our own spectrum, in our own arena. So if you are on the right side, stay on the right side. If you're on the left side, stay on the left side. And when one of those sides is putting together some kind of event that's going to be watched by millions of Americans, what can we do to distract from this? So liberals have come together and they said, no, we're not going to support the State of the Union address and the President of the United States. Instead, we're going to try and draw attendance, try to draw viewers. Who cares if the president might say something that could impact the stock market, impact your day-to-day life, could impact the actual future of the United States of America as we know it? Instead, come over to our other event, enjoy our other event, and try to listen to more of what you already hear on a daily basis. It's not about enriching yourself. Instead, it's about patting yourself on the back. And we see that happening a lot. And I'm not going to just point the fingers at liberals when it comes to this one. I will try my best to be objective because this happens on both sides. Now, an argument can be made that sometimes it is necessary. I would argue easily that if you're someone who enjoys entertainment and you're sitting down with your family, your lovely family, with your white picket fence, your dog, your cat, your 2.5 kids, and you're watching the Super Bowl and you say to yourself, you know, I actually don't want to have someone who dresses up in drag, who encourages going against scripture, who blasphemes the name of Jesus Christ and God, who is highly supportive of the LGBTQ plus community. Let me turn to something different or turn the TV off altogether like I did. That's a little bit different. But when it comes to a nation coming together, an argument would be interesting to hear how it makes sense to just ignore the leadership that's in charge. I think that when we watched Biden go through his State of the Union address, which I did, by the way, I absolutely did. I don't identify as as a Democrat. I don't identify as a Republican either, but I absolutely am conservative. I'm Christian and have those values, but I still support the President of the United States. I still pray for the guidance of the President of the United States. And if you are someone who is watching this broadcast, one, thank you for being here, but two, you should be praying for the President of the United States, whether you like the individual or not for your own selfish gains, not that he does what you want him to do, but that he aligns with morality, that he aligns with scripture, and that he knows the kingdom of God come eternity. That's what you really should be doing. But if you are watching this broadcast, I'd love to know where you are from. I can only see the individuals on YouTube, but if you are on TikTok, you've got my wife over there with you. Hopefully she will take you through and you have a good conversation. Let me know where you are from. I'd love to hear from every one of you. We should have a good conversation tonight as we dive into the State of the Union address. It is being broadcast on multiple platforms throughout YouTube, so I'm grateful that you were here with me. I see someone from Virginia over here with me. I know a lot about Virginia. I had some family that used to live up there. Virginia is going through a very rough time. We're seeing the consequences of our actions when it comes to the governor that was appointed over there. Only time will be able to tell the results of her seat as a governor and if she's going to continue moving forward. I see we have Texas down here as well. Texas is going through a hard time. It truthfully is. Texas is struggling right now, and they have a lot of big decisions to make moving into the midterms. That is something else, by the way, that is going to be impacted by the State of the Union address. We know the rhetoric is going to be about the same coming from both camps after this is over with. Every single conservative news station is going to hail the comments of the president, and every liberal station is going to condemn the comments of the president. What really matters is on the in-between what the American people think. What do they take away from the conversation? And most importantly, what is the truth? What's the truth that's being said and everything in between? No politician is perfect. I won't say that Trump is perfect. I'm sure he's going to make mistakes. I'm sure he's going to say things that hurt people's feelings. But what is going to happen to the United States of America when we look at tomorrow? What world are we going to live in? Are we going to see a world where even most Americans watch? Most Americans will not be participating in watching the State of the Union address. It is prime time on a Tuesday night. I'm quite certain The Simpsons or Family Guy are on right now. If not, there's other things you could do. I'm pretty sure a new video game's coming out. Most people actually won't be watching this, which is why it's so much that more important that we're here right now, and we're diving into this material and we're taking a couple of hours out of our day to figure out what's happening next. You must stay informed. When we're not informed, we wind up being in times like we're in right now. I think everybody would agree that the individuals who are in charge of this country are some of the most uninformed, some of the least knowledgeable, some of the individuals who lack wisdom in every single way, and yet they are in charge and they are in power. And it's because we have a group of voters who are not informed. And so, as we dive into this State of the Union address, I want to talk about a different issue here because we understand the politics, we understand Iran, we understand that this is a very, very large speech, updating Americans, updating Congress, governments, and governments around the world on what's going on with the United States of America. But there's a lot of things that are also going on in the background beyond just ICE. We'll talk about how some individuals are protesting ICE, but I also want to talk, if you don't mind, about some of the individuals that are doing different types of protests, especially in light with our wonderful friend Jeffrey Epstein and some of the things that has come to light with his behavior on the stage. Let me pull this up for you here real quick, if y'all don't mind. We've got two GOP governors plan to join Democrats in Epstein protests during the State of the Union. Now, when I say they plan on joining some of the Democrats, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're flipping in their districts. They're not going to stop identifying as Republicans. But these two individuals up here, at least two that we know of, House members plan to join Democrats in their efforts to protest the Epstein saga during President Donald Trump's State of the Union address, Axios reportedly learned. Quote, I am wearing Virginia, I can never pronounce this, Gouffier Roberts butterfly pin her brother gave me yesterday, said Representative Nancy Mace from South Carolina, according to Axios. Roberts, who died by suicide last year, was a primary accuser against the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. Meanwhile, Representative Thomas Massie from Kentucky plans to sit together with Representative Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California, on the Democratic Party side of the House chamber during the president's address, according to Axios. Khanna is bringing an Epstein survivor to the speech, and a source reportedly said that the bipartisan action is meant to, quote, emphasize the need for justice for the Epstein case. Massie and Khanna have found themselves allies in the transparency push over the Epstein scandal. Now, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries from New York, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Judiciary Committee Ranking Member Jamie Raskin, and House Oversight Committee Ranking Member Robert Garcia all signaled plans to bring Epstein victims as guests to Trump's Tuesday night speech. And speaking of Epstein, I'm hoping that it is brought up in the speech from Trump, because the question that's on the minds of a lot of Americans is anything going to happen? Is anybody going to be arrested? Is anybody going to jail? Is anybody going to, I don't know, anything else in between when it comes to what's going on with this Epstein situation? It's very easy to sit down and say, oh, this is horrible. This is awful. The poor kids. Is anybody looking out for the children? Is anybody looking out for the future generations? We know the evil things are happening. We know evil things are happening. We hear all these TikTokers and YouTubers saying this has been found and this has been found in the Epstein file. But is anybody going to jail? Is anybody going to wear the silver handcuffs and take that walk that a lot of those individuals, I would easily argue most, if not all, I haven't read everything on those millions of pages, they need to go to jail. They need to be found. They need to be exposed. And I don't care who it is. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. I don't care how powerful they are, how much money they have. Doesn't matter. If you harm children, you should go to jail. And I am grateful to see that at least amongst a few individuals on the left and the right side of the aisle are willing to come together and to have these conversations. Make no mistake, while a large amount of Congress as a whole is indeed corrupt. We call it the swamp for the reason. There's a reason liberals have stolen that expression from the Republicans, by the way. We call it that for a reason. When are they going to be removed from those situations? Because not all of them are bad. There are some individuals in Congress who genuinely want good, who genuinely grew up and they said, I'm going to make a difference in this life. I'm going to go up here, serve the people, and do the best that I can. And I know a lot of people would hear that and they'll probably start laughing like, oh, no, there's no way. There's no way that people actually want to do the right thing. I've never heard of these people. And of course you haven't. You're not going to hear about these people because they typically get snuffed in Congress. They're typically a little bit quieter, right? They're not as big on that overall stage. And you're not going to hear a whole lot from them. We're looking for the ones that are actually out there doing the thing, and they should have a louder voice, but we as the people have to be willing to give that voice to them. I'm happy to see that this is going on, but unfortunately, not every single protest that's occurring at the Capitol are, how can I say, virtuous, if you will. Believe it or not, and yes, I am not making this up. This is going to sound extremely strange. How are you doing, Carmen Lloyd? It's nice to see you, ma'am. Thank you for sliding in. Members of the Oregon-based protest group known as the Portland Frog Brigade. I'm going to say that sentence one more time because I need you to understand the level of ridiculousness we're about to get into with this story. Members of course, these people are from Oregon. Members of the Oregon-based protest group known as the Portland Frog Brigade walked around Capitol Hill ahead of President Donald Trump's State of the Union address Tuesday night and handed out copies of the Constitution, including to lawmakers. A photo taken by Reuters, this photo right here, of the protesters in inflatable frog suits shows them leaving Senator Chuck Grassley's, he's a Republican from Iowa, office in the Hart Senate building on Tuesday. Other photos on social media allegedly show the frogs outside the offices of Senator Ron Wyden, Representative Maxine Dexter, and the Judiciary Committee. The people in the inflatable frog suits gained fame after wearing them during protests against, you guessed it, I could give you a buffalo nickel right now, and I'm guaranteed you can tell me who these individuals are protesting against. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials, ICE, last fall, according to the Oregonian. The outlet added that while just around 10 members of the group came to the nation's capital ahead of Tuesday's State of the Union address, they shipped around 385 inflatable frog suits in order to recruit other activists to wear them. Please pause, take a step. I have got to discuss this. Why is it that we argue and we complain about, I can't find a job, I can't make enough money, bills are due, rents is high, and yet in the middle of the daytime, we have no shortage of individuals who are willing to just throw it all away to protest in the middle of the streets, to no end, by the way. I will wait to hear about how a protest, pick one, this one, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all the rest. Show me how running amok has truthfully changed this nation in recent years. 385 people said, you know what, that's not a bad idea. I could write my congressman. I sure could. I could have a nice little sign that clearly lets people know what my point is outside during this protest. I could do that too. You know, I could run for office, or here's a really fun one that most people statistically don't do. I could vote to make a difference. No. I want to throw on an inflatable frog costume that I would love to say the individuals getting this are only going to use 1 or 2 times, but I feel like it's going to be in a box in the back of the closet and they're going to bring it out for nasty time. 385 people were recruited to wear these frog costumes. It's horrible marketing, by the way. Horrible marketing. I would look at this, and before I thought that you were trying to protest the individuals who have signed up to take the risk of deporting individuals, many of which are violent, all of which are criminals, out of this country. No, I would think that you're trying to sell me frog legs at a new restaurant that just opened in town. Before I got to that conclusion, I would assume that you're from PETA, that horrible organization, and you're trying to save the frogs. Before I assume that you are protesting ICE, I would assume that Disney has a new cartoon before I assume that this is an ICE protest, and yet here we are. Quote, the Portland Frog Brigade uses inflatable animal costumes to practice the proven art of peaceful, creative dissent, exercising our right to free expression in defense of the U.S. Constitution and the rule of law. A website appearing to belong to the group states, quote, our resistance assistance program provides direct material support and services to organizations working to advance democracy, justice, and human dignity. Here's the challenge I have with this marketing. It says that I'm almost going to put this in layman terms so y'all can understand how ridiculous this sounds. We are getting grown adults to dress up like anthropomorphic frogs in an attempt to peacefully demonstrate that the individuals who are being removed by ICE, who are here illegally, somehow goes against democracy. This was voted for, so that's not true. Justice, they're breaking the law and being held accountable, so that's not true. And human dignity, Obama put people in cages. So I'm not sure where that technically is coming from, but this is the stance that they're coming from with this group, and this is what they've had to deal with all morning long, all day long, as they prepare for the State of the Union address. I have little sympathy for the individuals of Capitol Hill in general because you were doing a service job, so suck it up. But there is a lot of work that goes into it. So let's talk, if you don't mind, about the morning leading up to the State of the Union address. While President Donald Trump was doing that final read through, while he was getting his notes together, he's preparing in front of his advisors on what he was going to say. Again, members of Congress are typically doing their preparation before the State of the Union. Outside of the logistics of how I'm going to get there, they're allowed to permit one, two, a few, depending on who you are, guests to come to this speech. And for those of you who have ever seen a State of the Union address before, you know that typically the camera goes to certain people during the conversation and it highlights them. There's a bunch of pageantry, which we'll get to here in a second. Now, politicians do often use their guest ticket. You would think, like, I'm gonna tell you the truth. If it was me, if AT was up there and he was in Congress, which right, and I could bring a guest with me, I'm bringing my mom, I'm bringing my spouse, I'm bringing my kid if he's old enough to appreciate it. I'm bringing something like that, but most of them use it to do a political statement because of course they do. An example we have is former First Lady Jill Biden, if y'all remember her, invited a Texas woman, Jill Cox, who was denied an abortion by her state's Supreme Court. And when Speaker Mike Johnson invited family members of the Abbey Gate bombing from the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Both sides do this. They've always done this. This is the pageantry that I talk about when it comes to the State of the Union address. Between legislative business, engaging in caucus meetings, and scrambling for an aisle seat along President Trump's path as he walks to the podium to give his address, members and their guests are often invited to receptions on Capitol Hill after this is over with, before this is over with. Have some food, sit down and watch some of the greatest criminals in human history, have a conversation with each other. Last year, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, for example, described the State of the Union events as a day-long engagement taking place both before and after the president's address. Now, I have no sympathy, if I'm being honest with you. This is your job, but let's go a little bit deeper into it. So I want you to look at this picture here, if you don't. This is the chamber for the State of the Union address. All right. A lot of you have seen this before. You've noticed it on the pictures. I want to talk about the seating arrangements for this because a lot of people don't know this either. Again, if I'm not helping you learn something, you don't walk away a little bit better than I've wasted your time and I've not done my job. So the State of the Union addresses are delivered by the president. Shocker, we're on a good start here. And like any good production that exists, there's some level of formulaic consistency. There's some level of pageantry, dog and pony show. The military does this for the change of command ceremonies. And if you are in the military and you heard me say that just now, I'm certain I just gave you flashbacks. I apologize. Now, when it comes to the breakdown of this situation here and how everyone sits, there can be that can be found in the seating arrangement. This is how they kind of organize this. That work in the House of Representatives, where lawmakers from both chambers, cabinet members, and Supreme Court justices all cram into this one, and it's not that big of a room. I know the cameras make this thing look like it's massive. It's not that large of a room. But the only level of actual formulaic consistency that is to be had here is for members of Trump's cabinet. Those are the ones that will walk in whenever it's time to truthfully start the presentation, if you will. They have somewhere where they're able to sit. They have assigned seats. Everyone else in Congress, it's a first come, first serve basis. Only people that know where they're sitting are the ones, if you can see in here, that are right in front of the flag. Well, obviously the speaker has a seat. You're going to see Vance is going to be up there. He's got a seat. But everyone else, first come, first basis. Some seats are obvious. They're always the same. It doesn't mean that they're assigned. It's just kind of like, people who have their own spot in their house on the couch or wherever they go work at, wherever their lunch break is at. It's kind of the same. The justices are typically, as you see the stand from the outside, typically to the left, right in the front, as you can see in the picture up here. You typically see a lot of the military advisors crammed around them or in the back. And then the rest of the House, the rest of the Congress is just sitting in the back. And we notice that it's always a split. On the right-hand side, as you look at the podium from the outside, on the right-hand side, you typically see the Republicans. I'm sure they did that on purpose. And on the left-hand side, you typically see Democrats. And here is where the pageantry is always absolutely hilarious. While they may have sat down for hours in order to be the one that's able to shake the president's hand when he walks down there, because remember, not every representative is AOC or someone that you recognize. Sometimes it's just a guy named Jim who just went up there. He's going to do his 2 years in the House. He's going to call it square and never run again. He might want to shake the president's hand, right? But regardless, you'll notice during the presentation, this is one of the things I want you to pay attention to. We have a large amount of separation in this country. We have a large amount of bias in this country. And for some reason, many individuals struggle to get past it. You might have heard the expression that President Donald Trump could cure cancer, and liberals would find a way to be upset at him for that. I know that to be the case, as do you, because it goes both ways. Obama could have done nothing well, and typically Republicans ain't going to like the dude. Mind you, he didn't do anything well, so that was an easy one. But the point is, no matter what, you always have to see the pageantry. I remember there was a member of the House of Representatives, his name escapes me, but he came out and he said, it's not all true, right? We don't all actually hate each other while we're up here. We do that for the cameras. People will change the second they get on camera, and all of a sudden, these evil people, they're horrible, but they'll be smiling and laughing as soon as the cameras go off. I want you to see that during this speech. When President Trump comes up, he is inevitably going to say something that is typically a positive for the right-leaning side of the House. You're going to see them stand up. They're going to applaud. They're going to be so happy. Scan the room a little bit if you do. You will not see a single individual on the left standing up. They purposely don't do it. They sit down. They don't applaud. They don't do anything. Because God forbid they show any kind of unity underneath the president of the United States, especially when the entire liberal platform right now is screw Donald Trump. That's it. That's the entire argument that they have. If you run on that, then you have a chance at winning. At least they think you have a chance at winning. Keep that in mind as you go through this, because you're going to see a large amount of it. Last year, when we had the quote unquote not State of the Union address from Trump for his inauguration year for his second presidency, we actually heard people yelling. We heard people trying to interrupt the president. We might see some of that tonight as well. We know that while some Democrats decided not to show up tonight, some are still there, like Elizabeth Warren, who plan on making an appearance, who might be disruptive or might go in a different direction. Keep that in mind as we go through it, because I also want to keep going a little bit deeper, if you don't mind, and talk about one guest that I think is definitely worth being mentioned, if you don't mind. She's a young lady that is being invited by, of course, the president's wife. She's allowed to have a few different individuals she brings up there. Let me pull this young lady on the screen here, if you don't mind. Melania Trump invites a young history enthusiast and AI supporter as a guest. Isn't she absolutely precious? Look at this young lady right here. 11-year-old Everest, I cannot pronounce her last name. We're going to say it's Nevermont, a 3-time regional history B champion who has already delivered a TEDx talk, is set to attend Tuesday's State of the Union as a guest of First Lady Melania Trump. Boy, if compare and despair was something that was deep within my bones, by the time I was 11 years old, I was not the regional history champion of anything, and I certainly had never delivered a TEDx talk, so good for her. God bless. Like everybody in the entire world is watching, and I'm right here in the same room, quote, the young lady said, she told the Associated Press. The First Lady has been an outspoken supporter of extending artificial intelligence in education, a cause that closely aligns with Nevermont's interest. In her TEDx presentation, she described how she relies on AI tools to deepen her studies, and she attends Alpha School in Austin, Texas, that's unfortunate, an institution built around AI-driven instruction. Ahead of the speech of the State of the Union, Nevermont said she has used AI to learn about the history of the presidential speech. She also told the Wire service that her chance to sit with the First Lady is a reflection of the growing national importance of AI, adding that academic achievements like the History B actually really pay off. I wanted to highlight this story because of a few different reasons, actually. One, Austin, Texas moment of silence for this young lady. If you are not from Texas and all you know about Austin is what you hear on the news, it's worse. I don't know how to say it's worse. It's a whole lot worse down there. But this seems like a very talented young lady who's actually utilizing AI for good educational purposes. It's rare. I'm happy that the First Lady highlighted this young lady. I hope that young children are watching the State of the Union address, hear about this young lady, and maybe it's less using ChatGPT to write a report for you, and maybe we're using AI as a supplement, because the country's going in a very unique direction on this one. Now, we have the State of the Union address set to begin in 14 minutes. I wanted to end this introduction segment to it with one story that I all but guarantee you have not heard about. No news station has talked about it. They're not going to bring it up. They're not going to discuss it because it goes against their agenda. If you were to ask the liberal media right now, is Donald Trump President Trump, is he a racist? Is he someone who doesn't like black people? Is he someone who doesn't agree with what black people are doing with their lives? I would wager that most people would easily argue that the answer to that question is yeah, he's racist. He's absolutely horrible in every single way. There's nothing that he can do that is good. He is out to disrupt America in every single way. Well, I want to share the story with you. This one was broken by Fox News. This is about an hour ago, before we actually started this broadcast. Bring America back to God. MLK's niece predicts Trump's State of the Union fame. Civil rights activist Alveda King said she expects President Donald Trump's State of the Union address tonight to center on faith, national renewal, and action, and not just rhetoric. Quote, we're going to restore, rededicate, bring America back to God, King told Fox News Digital. Quote, I believe President Trump is genuinely sincere. Let me tell you, if I can find a copy of this recording of her saying this, I'm going to post this absolutely everywhere I can think of, because what else? The question I have for anyone who is liberal, I know your argument is going to be, well, it's fake. He's making it up. He's just doing it for good looks. What do you need? What do you actually need to stop saying that? Because here he's sitting down. I think most people have heard of MLK. I don't know what that stands for. I think that's, Martin Luther King, I think. His niece is saying, we're going to restore, rededicate, bring America back to God. Quote, I believe President Trump is genuinely sincere. End quote. That's a powerful thing to hear from MLK's niece about an obvious racist, apparently. King said she anticipates Trump will challenge Americans to unite while continuing to push forward on priorities such as religious liberty at home and abroad. Quote, I believe that we're going to hear that America, we have to come together, she said. We can do this, and we'll do it together. King pointed to what she described as the president's record of following through on commitments, including applying pressure on Christian persecution in Nigeria. When asked what her late uncle, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., haven't heard of him, might be listening for, King did not hesitate. Quote, he said, we must learn to live together as brothers and sisters or perish together as fools, she said. If he were watching tonight, he would say, pray, get along, and work it out. Powerful words coming from the niece of Martin Luther King Jr., talking about Trump, talking about this State of the Union address. A lot of individuals are not aware that the State of the Union address has the capability of absolutely shifting and shaking the American market, the American lifestyle, the culture, and its reality. It's so critically important that as we go through this State of the Union address, which is set to begin in about 10 minutes, that we listen intently for what direction we might be getting an indication on. More importantly, keep that one top of mind. Exactly what Miss Alveda, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, King is talking about. We do need to come together as an American people, but the question I have is how? I got this question on one of my shorts that I posted over here on YouTube. Once again, if you were watching on TikTok, I cannot see you, but Caitlin can. So hopefully you're enjoying the conversation with her. Thank you very much for being here. We are live on YouTube at Faith Under Fire Show. That link is available to you on TikTok on my profile if you want to join us over here and get a part of the conversation. Pay attention as we go into this tonight and ask yourselves, how do we come together? I would easily argue the way we come together is in truth. I think most people would agree with that, right? The truth shall set you free. It's necessary to know right from wrong. What is the truth then at the end of the day? I know truth to be scripture. It's very easy to have that conversation, by the way, whether you believe or not is a conversation as well. But we know that's where truth comes from in morality. We live in very perilous times, though, ladies and gentlemen, where most individuals don't know how America was founded, don't believe in morality, can't even explain morality, even if you ask them to it. If you ask the average, especially this new generation, why do you believe in what you believe? Why do you do what it is that you do? How do you know the difference between right and wrong? And you'll be very disappointed with the answers that they give you, if they're even able to give you an answer at all. We need to figure out how we come together. And one of the things that President Trump has always represented is the quiet masses that have not been represented in recent years. We're talking about those individuals that either live in the flyover states or whose color might actually be blue. The ones who believe in Jesus Christ, who going to church on Sunday is not an optional thing to do and something of a requirement to the point of pure joy and able to do so. We know that he represents not just those who believe, but also those who don't and yet still have appropriate values, like maybe you shouldn't take the life of a child that's in the womb, and maybe you shouldn't change and alter your body to match whatever society tells you to be. We hope that beyond this, we're able to look and come together and figure out how are we as a nation going to make America great again, going to go into a golden age when we have enemies closing in around us. China wants to be better than the United States of America. They're not even hiding that fact. They make it very clear. Russia wants to be better than the United States of America. Many of our European allies want to be better than the United States of America. And it's not because we have a president that maybe has unique rhetoric that upsets people. He's a New Yorker. If you've never been to New York before, then it makes sense why you might be a little bit offended by him. And yes, I absolutely do wish that he would clean up some of the way that he talks, some of the language that he uses. I'm not going to lie about that fact, but no, that's not what it is. President Trump has always come out to buck a trend in a system that is controlled by the corrupt. He has always come out and said that, yes, I actually take part in this system. If you remember his debate that he had with Hillary Clinton before his first term, I take part of it. Yep, I sure do. And so do the rest of the crooks that are out there. It's not saying that he's a crook, it's saying that he's aware of it. And it's something that he's not afraid to talk about. President Trump was supposed to come out yesterday and have a large speech to the world that did not happen. It might be happening tonight. And he himself, when he talked about this speech, as my wife asked me, how long are you going to be on TikTok? How long are you going to be on YouTube? How long is the actual address going to take? Well, it kind of depends, everyone. There is no set time limit for the State of the Union address. If President Trump comes up there and says, hey, I have a 5-minute presentation that I'm going to give, and I'm going to talk about it for 5 minutes, and it's going to be great, well, then it's going to be a 5-minute State of the Union address. I doubt that he is going to do that, but he could. But if he comes back and he says, I'm going to talk for 30 minutes, or more than likely an hour, or longer, then that's how long he's going to talk. And Trump has already come out and said, hey, this one's going to be a long one tonight. I have a lot of things that I need to say. Keep in mind that Trump is coming a few days off of the Supreme Court announcement saying that his initial Trumps were in fact not actually legal. Now, please understand, Trump is still tariffing these other countries. He announced a 10% tariff increase actually on a global scale afterwards. He's just going to use a different argument in order to make that happen. So we're going to see what direction that goes and if he's going to mention that today as well. White House has released excerpts of Trump's highly anticipated State of the Union speech. This just broke about 15 minutes ago. I'll read it to you all so you can stay up to date. The White House released a handful of excerpts from President Donald Trump's speech Tuesday evening, celebrating the United States' 250 years of independence and a, quote, turnaround for the ages underneath his leadership. Quote, from 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for the next, Trump is expected to say during his speech. Now it is our turn. Together, we are building a nation where every child has a chance to reach higher and go farther, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. Trump's speech will focus on the economy, Fox News Digital previously reported, with Trump expected to tout that, quote, factories, jobs, investments, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America under his tenure. Quote, for decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. He's not wrong about that. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country run. Excerpts from the speech provided to Fox Digital state. Before I keep reading, I will pause and say it's easy to say that, but the issue is most Americans, I would argue, if you consider them, most Americans probably live in or near a city. They don't know how our country runs. They don't know what makes our countries run. I remember when I know this is a slight tangent, but I got to do it. I remember when I used to be a liberal. For those of you who aren't aware, I'm sorry, please don't hang me, right? And I wound up seeing the light. And I remember listening to a group of liberals when I was working in finance in these nice high up buildings in New York City, going out, drinking all the time. None of them have a driver's license. And they were talking about truckers, because I think Canada was like having an issue with the truckers or whatever it was, and we're in New York, so it's close by. And they were talking about truckers and they were laughing about it. Like, well, we don't actually need them, right? Truckers are becoming obsolete, right? We're finding different ways to ship things. And I was listening to them. I was like, oh, These are people who don't know about the final mile. You can fly anything where you want to. You can put something on a boat wherever you want to. What's going to get it off the boat to in front of people's houses, right? They weren't aware of that. And so while I do love what he's saying here, and we are going to break this down, I will take some notes. I encourage you all over here on YouTube to do the same, so we can definitely talk about this after this is over with. But when he talks about the hardworking people who make our country run, you mean the ones that they refer to that live in the flyover states that they've probably never seen a day in their lives? You mean the farmers? You mean the industry workers, the linemen, for goodness sake? Those individuals, I wholeheartedly agree. The ones that have been indeed forgotten. It's why Trump is so popular amongst his own political party, because they have been forgotten. They're not talked about. Your kids grow up whenever it's job day and you ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? They say, what? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. All great jobs, by the way. Amen for those who do it. But at the end of the day, you can have your doctors, you can have your lawyers, we can argue about their necessity. If you don't have linemen, you don't survive another week, depending on where you're at in the country. Let's keep going here. The president's remarks on the economy will include celebrating his policies to lower drug prices, his ban on, quote, large Wall Street investment firms from buying up in the thousands, that's generous, single-family homes, end quote, and working to snuff out fraud like what has unfolded in Minnesota. I got to ask this question real quick before I keep going. I got 2 paragraphs left, and we're going to see if this actually starts on time. I have never, has anybody ever heard someone from the liberal side of the House give an argument for these firms buying up housing? I have an idea of what that argument could be. It's not a good argument, right? The idea is that Uncle Sam takes care of me, right? Buys up these houses and they give it to us for cheaper, right? Would have been cheaper if we did it ourselves, but they do it for us. I'm curious if anyone's ever come across that before. I'm going to keep on moving here. The president will also take shots at Democrats, including for the ongoing partial government shutdown affecting the Department of Homeland Security, Fox Digital learned. Quote, as we speak, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. They have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Tonight, I am demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the Border Security and Homeland Security of the United States, he's expected to say. If they're going to boo, that's going to be the place where they do it, in case you are curious. I would not be the least bit surprised if that's the direction that it went to. I'm checking. It says the State of the Union will begin shortly. As soon as we get coverage coming in, we're looking at the White House's official website over here to see when everything gets started. I am showing on Fox that we have individuals waiting outside. We're within 1 minute of the start of the State of the Union address. So once again, thank you for being here. Looking at Carmen Lloyd, it's nice to see you, ma'am. Jackson Oates with the 8 behind it. Absolutely love seeing you. Hopefully you are doing well. Leo Girl 60. Only 4 Supreme Court justices showed up tonight. We are in a very, very dark time in our country, ladies and gentlemen, when even justices cannot retain their impartiality. That is actually a deeper issue. Let me go ahead and highlight this here for y'all to see it. That's a deeper issue than I think people realize. Justice is supposed to be blind. You can hate the president. You can dislike the president. The president could have talked about your mama. As a justice in the greatest court in the land, you are supposed to show up regardless, be impartial, don't clap, sit there and just represent Lady Justice. Them not showing up, I think, is absolutely awful. Thank you very much for being here, ma'am. Echoes of Reason, of course, Carrie Davidson. It's nice to see you over here on the YouTube side of things. We're still waiting outside of the door for the presidential address. We're going to put this on the stage here just to make sure we have everything ready to go so we don't miss a single thing whenever it pops up. In that meantime, I don't know how many individuals are over on the TikTok side of the house. Leo Girl, if you are on TikTok as well, if you don't mind telling me on YouTube, I'd appreciate it so I can figure out what direction we're going. We are watching the State of the Union address. We're going to watch it live until they take us down or until it winds up ending. Donald Trump is expected to give about an hour-long, maybe slightly longer speech talking about the state of the economy, talking about the state of illegal immigration, and talking about how Democrats are simply not working together to actually help advance the United States of America. The White House has dropped a bingo card. I've got to show this to you all. Give me a second here. I've got to rip this off so y'all can see this because this is actually really funny. I wish we had this up here. I might put this on the screen just to keep it. Give me 1 second because I have to actually load this on here. I want to show you all what the White House just put out here. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for my pictures. Where did I put it? I forgot. Ah, here it is. Where's my bingo card at? There we are. Y'all check this out right here. Look at this. This is the bingo card that the White House put out for the State of the Union address. I'm going to read it for those of you who are just listening in tonight. Y'all know what a bingo card looks like. BINGO. You got 5 columns and they got 5 things in it. The one in the middle is the free space. And it says here, so the B section, we have Democrats rudely interrupt the speech. If I had known they were going to do this earlier, I would have actually had this on the screen. Someone says America is back. That's going to be on the bingo card for tonight's show. Barbs is mentioned. I don't know who that's supposed to be. Y'all know I'm not hip. Fake news immediately complains about the speech. That might as well be a free space. Democrat stays seated when angel families are recognized. I will never forget that, by the way. 16, thank you very much, little girl. I appreciate that. Amy Eddie in the house coming from TikTok. I always appreciate the TikTok family sliding over to YouTube because this is where we're going to be at from now on. So the sooner the better because we got some fun stuff coming ahead. Let's keep going here. In the I column, it says, as I just lost my picture, the border is secure. Quote, the border is secure. So that will be an I column. Someone who married someone who married their brother is in the audience. The White House official page is wild. I cannot believe that they actually said that. Let me see. We have weak Democrats stage failed walkout. A failed walkout. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. If you need ID, buy alcohol, ride airplanes, watch R-rated movies, shovel snow in New York, and more, why not vote? Okay. We got at the end of the I column, someone says we're a dead country. If you say that we're a dead country, you're basically admitting publicly you have never traveled outside the United States of America. In the end column, the fat shot is mentioned. I have no idea what that means. Quote, peace through strength is up there as well. Give me one second here. They're looking. I have the Fox stream up here. I'm trying to see as soon as people walk in the door before I show the official White House stream. But if they don't put it on the official White House one, which I'm going to put up here on the screen, this way we don't miss anything, then I'll switch over to Fox as a backup here. Let me keep going. We got the free space here, which I like. That free space, for those of you who don't know, is the individual who shot the winning goal in the USA Men's Olympics hockey game against Canada, where we took the gold medal over Canada, much like we did back in the Miracle on Ice time frame. We've got the president fist pumps the crowd. I think you can mark that one off before he even gets up to the podium. The last one is punch the monkey is a special guest. This monkey, I have no idea what's going on with this monkey, but Caitlin has been telling me about a little monkey somewhere, and apparently it's adorable because it was supposed to be abandoned, and I guess somebody got the monkey, and everyone's happy now. I have absolutely no idea, but apparently the monkey is somebody important. I'm waiting to see if we have people walking in. We got a few walking in on Fox. It's not the progression yet. We're going to keep on, or procession, excuse me. We'll keep on going here. What else we got up? So in the G column, half the crowd starts chanting USA, USA, USA. Again, probably marking that one off before we even get into it. I might do this next time. Next year for the State of the Union, I might genuinely get this bingo card, and we might play this together. Let me keep going. Secretary Rubio gets another job. Okay. A confused Joe Biden mistakenly shows up to deliver the speech. I don't think anyone's marking that one off, but please know that would be tragically, because we do pray for his health and for his salvation, but it would be tragically hilarious. Let's see. Flotus stuns with the best look in the gallery. I mean, Melania is a model, so I would not be surprised if she does. Let me see. The last one here is camera pans to member with RBF. I'm not going to explain what that is because we exclusively don't curse on this live, but you get the idea. And last but not least, in the O column, we have the economy is so hot. Democrats get mogged by POTUS. I don't know what mogged means. Quote, clean, beautiful, coal mentioned. Schumer or Jeffries wears a sombrero. And the last one is after Olympic hockey loss, Canada becomes the 51st state. Okay, so some of these are just not going to happen, but it would be hilarious. Is Ilhan Omar in there? I have no idea, Amy Eddie. If somebody sees her, please call her out. I would be very curious. I see Opposing Countess has come over from TikTok as well. I appreciate everybody. That's the way I'm going to say it from now on. I appreciate everybody on TikTok who slid over. If you are on TikTok right now and you are watching on TikTok and you are a fan of the stuff that AT has been doing, including talking about himself in the third person for whatever reason, come on over to YouTube. This is where the family's going to be at from now on. We've got great conversations over here. I post the exact same shorts, by the way, that I do on TikTok, except for over here, we're going to have a morning show. I've not told anybody that quite yet. I got more details coming later on in the week. We're still waiting for the for everything to get started. We are waiting for them to come out the door time frame. I'm going to actually see if I can shift over here so y'all can see the different screen I have. Let me see if I can make this work. And if I can't, then I won't. But we're going to see if we can get this up here. Right now, you're really just staring at a door regardless. We'll keep the same one up here. Who else do we have in the house? I know we had a couple more slide over here from the TikTok page. I appreciate every single one of you. We've got a couple of retrospectives up here from Clinton's address. We're not going to dive too much into that. Trump has departed the White House for the State of the Union speech. So we know that he is at least on his way, if not already there. The Department of Homeland Security did call out the Democrats for bringing illegal alien guests to State of the Union. Quote, "We are not the same." I've got to read this. Never mind. We've got this up here, y'all. We're going over to the State of the Union address. I'll be here on mute. Thank you all for being here. So this is usually when the president comes in, right? Round of applause for the people who were close enough to actually see him, shake his hands. We see coming into the chambers right now. I'm trying to get eyes on anyone that I can actually see and make out. But there's Trump. We see him walking in, surrounded by his cabinet, shaking hands. We hear a lot of applause. For some reason, the White House's sound is not great. If that continues, we'll switch over real fast before it starts because I want to make sure y'all can hear it. Y'all give me a scale of 1 to 10 over in the comment section. How's the sound to y'all right now? We hear some whistling coming in from the chambers as well. Everyone's got their phones out. People are applauding. We're not getting the full view of the chambers from this angle. The White House is focusing directly on the president coming in. Still waiting for somebody in the comment section over here on YouTube to let me know how it sounds. The young gentleman up top looks so very uncomfortable being here. I just wanted to point that out for everybody. All right, we see the usual suspects. Some of Trump's family's up there in the rafters looking. And Trump is making his way up to the podium to begin his speech. Y'all, we're going to try and shift over here to the Fox's broadcast to see if we can get a better sound on this. I'm going to have to make this a little bit bigger. There we go.
I'm trying to keep them on time. I'm going to try a selfie.
Hey, thank you all. Let me know how it is. Hopefully that's better. I see that it's better. We're going to stick right here with the Fox broadcast. I appreciate that better coming from you. Bloodbeard. Love the name, by the way. Rose, thank you. Now you can hear a little better. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if y'all like it, if this is good. think that's the loudest I can get it, y'all.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
All right, y'all, here we go. Hey, who had that on the bingo card? Who had the USA chant? I told you, you're going to get that before you even get started.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's really an honor. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States,
Your perfect domain is out there. Go to Wix and make it yours.
United States, members of Congress, and my fellow Americans. Our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages. And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure.
Staged walkout and USA chant at the same time.
Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before. And our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked. And America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far.
I'm about to get bingo already.
In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline. Mortgage rates are the lowest in 4 years and falling fast, and the annual cost of a typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 just since I took office. 1 year. And low interest rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem while at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both. And we are going to keep it that way. The stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. Think of that, 1 year. Boosting pensions, 401ks, and retirement accounts for the millions and millions of Americans. They're all gaining. Everybody's up, way up. In 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe. Think of it, much less than $1 trillion for 4 years versus much more than $18 trillion for 1 year. What a difference a president makes. A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest. As thousands of new businesses are forming and factories, plants, and laboratories are being built, we have added 70,000 new construction jobs in just a very short period of time. It's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. Nobody can believe what they're watching. American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil. American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill. More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. Think about that. Any time in the history of our country, more working today. And 100% of all jobs created under my administration have been in the private sector. We ended DEI in America. We cut a record number of job-killing regulations, and in 1 year, we have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps. And for all of these reasons, I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong.
Very popular expression, often used by presidents.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in. Go ahead. Thank you. That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House. They were in the Oval Office before, and I just want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody to say no, because I've never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck. Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off. You practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case, my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Great athletes have gotten that, very great, the best. And I thought he deserved it. And I did take a vote, every single one of them. I said, I'm not giving it if anybody goes no. And every single one of them rapidly put up their hand. I want to thank you all. What a special job you did. What special champions you are. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles.
I'm personally worried about the Olympics in Los Angeles. We'll see.
And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country. And this year, and I must say I got them both. I got them in my first term. And I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place. And now I've got them because I got the Olympics and I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And I wanted to claim the 250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself. But we're getting the World Cup. So we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming. And that is exciting news. So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II, serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila, worked so hard. He was badly wounded and almost killed by enemy machine guns in Luzon. And 81 years ago this month, he liberated the largest internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. But he earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight he is in the gallery looking forward to July 4th, 2026, his 100th birthday.
I wish the Fox broadcast would actually show the people he's talking about.
So, Buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you. Even in times of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, the spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas, one of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClelland closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from.
Hi, we're Oars and Albs. We make skincare for men, and today we're making their ride a little more fun.
Very, very top, always top
Sorry
in
about
his
that, y'all.
class, and he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety. People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Millie Kate. And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you. And I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aid, thank you very much. Take care of that very important service. Thank you very much. From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together, we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans. All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts. They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible the first time, but only if the car is made in America. Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children, beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this evening, and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and our expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half. Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you. Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it. I did not name that. Nobody believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man sitting right there in the third row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6.25 billion to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children. They're great people. When I asked Michael Dell, how do you make all that money? He said, well, I just sat on my dorm in school and I made computers and I'd sell them to people. And I just kept selling and selling and selling. And pretty amazing story. That's called the American dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops. So I congratulate him on that. But I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad Gerstner. Thank you, Brad. So with modest additional contributions, these young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. To make this investment in our children's future, go to trumpaccounts.gov, trumpaccounts.gov. And a lot of people are doing it. It's setting every record in the book. It's popular. They knew what it was going to take. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the people that got it started. And now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth. And the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace-protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love. Right? Moving forward, factories, jobs, investment, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America because we finally have a president who puts America first. I put America first. I love America. For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now, the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly used the word affordability, a word they just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem. They knew their statements were a lie. They knew it. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward. The price of eggs is down 60%, Madam Secretary, thank you. The cost of chicken, butter, fruit, hotels, automobiles, rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while, we're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, and especially energy, when they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance companies have gotten rich. It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%, like nothing else. That's why I introduced the great healthcare plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost. In addition, my plan requires maximum price transparency. That's a big deal. Sounds so simple, so big. And I did that in my first term, and the Democrats immediately terminated it with full knowledge that they were doing a very bad thing for the people. Costs were going to go way up, and that's what happened. And now I'm bringing them way down on healthcare and everything else. I'm also ending the wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before. Other presidents tried to do it, but they never could. They tried. Most didn't try, actually. But they tried. They said they tried. They couldn't do it. They didn't even come close. They were all talk and no action, but I got it done. Under my just enacted most favored nation agreements, Americans who have for decades paid by far the highest prices of any nation anywhere in the world for prescription drugs will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs. Anywhere, the lowest price. So in my first year of the second term, should be my third term, But strange things happen. I took prescription drugs, a very big part of healthcare, from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more, all available right now at a new website called TrumpRx.gov. And I didn't name that one either, by the way. And here tonight is the very first customer ever to get that big discount, and it is big. Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase. But a few weeks ago, she logged onto the Trump RX website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500, a reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom. So now I'm calling on Congress to codify my most favored nation program into law. Now, the one thing I'm not sure it matters, because it's going to be very hard for somebody that comes along after me to say, let's raise drug prices by 700 or 800%. But John and Mike, if you don't mind, codify it anyway. They may do it. Codify it anyway. Thank you. Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory, so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community, and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you, and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack is home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of two from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up into thousands single-family homes. And now I'm asking Congress to make that ban permanent, because homes for people, really, that's what we want. We want homes for people, not for corporations. Corporations are doing just fine. Rachel, thank you very much. Good luck with you.
Sorry about the ads, y'all. I do not pay to not have ads during this. I'll be over here in a second.
This administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Since I took office, the typical 401k balance is up by at least $30,000. That's a lot of money. We have millions and millions of people, because the stock market has done so well, setting all those records. Your 401ks are way up. Yet half of all of working Americans still do not have access to a retirement plan with matching contributions from an employer. To remedy this gross disparity, I'm announcing that next year my administration will give these often forgotten American workers, great people, the people that built our country, access to the same type of retirement plan offered to every federal worker. We will match your contribution with up to $1,000 each year. As we ensure the stock market, let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information. They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay. I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. He'll get it done. And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah. Delilah Colden was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't even be able to eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up. Thank you, Delilah. Many, if not most, illegal aliens do not speak English and cannot read even the most basic road signs as to direction, speed, danger, or location. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. And yesterday, as you probably saw at the White House, I hosted a ceremony with Americans who lost their treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration. People came into our country, how we allowed this to happen with our open borders. These are the angel moms and families that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored. It was terrible. Hard to believe, actually. In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Elizabeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub, bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Elizabeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien who had broken in and brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you. We can never forget that many in this room not only allowed the border invasion to happen before I got involved, but indeed they would do it all over again if they ever had the chance. If they ever got elected, they would open up those borders to some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world. The only thing standing between Americans and a wide open border right now is President Donald J. Trump and our great Republican patriots in Congress. Thank you. Thank you.
Step into a world where the spirit of the American West comes alive. Experience the Russell, March 19th through the 21st in Great Falls, Montana. A world-class celebration of Western art. Reserve your place at therussellsale.org.
Funding for the Department of Homeland Security is all cut off. It's all cut off. They have instituted another Democrat shutdown, the first one costing us 2 points on GDP. 2 points we lost on GDP, which probably made them quite happy, actually. Now they have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Tonight, I'm demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security, homeland security of the United States, and also for helping people clean up their snow. We have no money because of the Democrats, and it would be nice. We'd love to give you a hand at cleaning it up, but you gave no money. Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight, I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
I wish Fox was showing the rest of the chamber so we could see who's actually standing up and who's not.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. That cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None.
Yes, that counts, opposing Countess.
And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats, 89%. And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card. Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good. No good. Both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens. And the reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things you almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, Josh. And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents. Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland. A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son. Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time. But today, all of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full-ride scholarship to Liberty University. Sage and Michelle, please stand up.
The work that I do as a farmer is beyond me growing food. It's really cultivating community as well. You know, we're
And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this? 15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents. But surely we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we're even talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately. Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. Amazing. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we? No one cares more about protecting America's youth than our wonderful First Lady, now a movie star. She's a movie star. Can you believe it? Who would have believed that? Over the past year, she has had an incredible impact championing AI legislation, advancing a landmark executive order on foster care, and helping secure $30 million to launch the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. It's a tremendous, really a tremendous thing that happened and had a lot of bipartisan support. She gets much better bipartisan support than I do. I get none. She gets a lot. Someday you're going to have to tell me how you did that. And students and educators in every state have joined the First Lady's efforts in the presidential AI challenge, keeping America's next generation positioned to succeed and strongly succeed in the future. Tonight, we welcome two young people whose lives reflect the First Lady's impact, Sierra Burns and Everest Nevermont. Thank you both, and Melania, thank you. I know how hard you worked on it. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4 years and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God. Tremendous renewal. This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man.
Oh, people on the left not going to like that one. They're not going to like that one.
So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin and martyred, really martyred for his beliefs. wife, Erica, is with us tonight. Erica, please stand. Thank you, Erica. Been through a lot. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind. We love religion, and we love bringing it back, and it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again. We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zuretska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina, fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail, stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal war only to be slain by a hardened criminal set free to kill in America, came in through open borders. Mrs. Zaretska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation to ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there. Starting last summer, I deployed our National Guard and federal law enforcement to restore law and order to our most dangerous cities, including Memphis, Tennessee, big success, New Orleans, Louisiana, big success, and our nation's capital itself, Washington, D.C., where we have almost no crime anymore in Washington, D.C. How did that happen? In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago. They don't like to hear that. One of the sick people, one of the brave service members who helped achieve this stunning turnaround was 20-year-old West Virginia Army National Guard Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. After a 4-month deployment, she voluntarily extended her service, and her rank was going to be lifted. She was doing so well. They were so proud of her. But the very next day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan. Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation, she was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick and deranged, shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital, and we are honored to be joined by her wonderful parents, Gary and Eva Lee. Your daughter was a true American patriot, and she will be greatly missed. She was a great person. I saw reports on her. They've never seen anything like her. So sorry. Thank you very much. A great young lady. I saw reports that were like, perfect. She was perfect. Serving alongside Sarah that day was Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. The terrorist shot Andrew in the head, and no one thought he could possibly make it. The two of them, Sarah and Andrew, both shot violently in the head. Neither was expected to make it. They weren't even given a chance, except his wonderful mother, named Melody, who I spoke to the same night. And she was so positive. The doctors thought that Andrew was gone. But his mother said, no, Mr. President, Andrew will be fine. He's going to make it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was given almost no chance. She said, I have no doubt, sir, he's going to be okay. This was a conversation that I had with her that night, with her son laying helplessly in bed, blood all over. Everybody is praying, she said, sir, he will be okay. The doctors didn't understand what she was saying. And after looking at the results of the damage done, neither did I. She was so strong and conclusive that even Andrew's great father felt she didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. But she turned out to be right. Right, Melody? She turned out to be right. Amazing, actually. I said, where does this woman come from? She's the most positive person I've ever met. With God's help, Andrew has battled back from the edge of death, and we're talking about the edge of death, on his way to a miraculous recovery. He's got a little work to do, but he's doing great. Nice to see you. He's a good-looking guy. Nice to see you. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much. So, Andrew, while you're up, now I'm going to ask a highly respected General James Seward to present Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and the great family of Sarah Beckstrom with the award created by our late, great President George Washington himself. It's called the Purple Heart. We love you all. Love you. We're proudly restoring safety for Americans at home, and we are also restoring security for Americans abroad. Our country has never been stronger. In my first 10 months, I ended 8 wars, including Cambodia. Isn't it funny? Sick people. Cambodia and Thailand, Pakistan and India would have been a nuclear war. 35 million people said the Prime Minister of Pakistan would have died if it were not for my involvement. Kosovo and Serbia, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Congo and Rwanda, and of course the war in Gaza, which proceeds at a very low level. It's just about there. And I want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for your help. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jared. People like you. You know, Marco got 100% of the votes when he was in confirmation. I think our next one was about 54%. And some of the Democrats are now saying, I can't believe we approved that guy. And he said it's an honor that they feel that way, right, Marco? You have done a great job, great Secretary of State. I think he'll go down as the best ever. Under the ceasefire I negotiated, every single hostage, both living and dead, has been returned home. Can you believe that? Nobody thought it was possible. Nobody thought that was possible. Both living and dead. And those parents who had a dead son, their boy, they'd always tell me their boy, they wanted him as much as though he were living. That was an amazing period of time. They came back, and when we got all of the living hostages back, and many, many before them, but I always said those last 20 are going to be very tough, but we got many, many more, hundreds. But I said those last 20 are going to be tough. We got them back, but we only got back 14 or 15 of the dead of the 28. And believe it or not, Hamas worked along with Israel, and they dug and they dug and they dug. It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And they finally got it back to 27. And then Steve and Jared, they got it back to 28. They found all 28. Nobody thought that was possible, but we did it. And I remember the family of the 28th. They were so grieved, but they were so happy as it's possible to be. They had their boy back. The mother said, sir, we have our boy back. What a period of time that was, but we got them all back. So thank you both very much. Great job. And we're working very hard to end the 9th war, the killing and slaughter between Russia and Ukraine, where 25,000 soldiers are dying each and every month. Think of that, 25,000 soldiers are dying a month. A war which would have never happened if I were president, would have never happened. As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, The United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer. Good. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like 32,000 protests, 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of.
Hi, I'm Allison. I'm the river otter keeper here at Zoo Montana in Billings. When we heard that Great Falls College was.
They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called Peace Through Strength, and it's been very, very effective.
I just need Rubio to get another job, and then I got bingo for the State of the Union. 2 different ways. Or for someone to say we're a dead country.
Thanks to Republican in Congress, we're investing that record number of dollars, have no choice, in the United States Armed Forces. Also creating a lot of jobs, but we're not even doing it for that reason. Because as I said, we have more jobs, more people working today than ever before in the history of our country. And NATO countries are friends and allies. They are. They're our friends and they're our allies. Have just agreed at my very strong request to pay 5% of GDP for military defense rather than the 2%, which they weren't paying. We were paying for almost all of NATO. Now they're paying 5 as opposed to not paying 3. And getting that 5% was something which everyone said would never be done, could not happen. We got it really easily with one meeting. And big difference between 2% that's not paid. We were paying the freight of many of them. Very few were paid up. now 5%, then they're paid. And everything we send over to Ukraine is sent through NATO, and they pay us in full. They pay us totally in full. Every branch of our armed forces is setting records for recruitment. This is so exciting. And every service member recently. And every service member recently received a warrior dividend of $1,776. You know, they put it on my desk. We got the money from tariffs and other things, a lot of money. We have much more money than people understand. Have to rebuild that program a little bit, but it won't take long. But we got the money, and it was $1,775, and they wanted my approval. And I said, what's the number? $1,775. I said, wait a minute, for $1 more, we can have $1,776. It's going to. I said, we're going to figure that. I never asked anybody if we could afford it. $1 more, I said $1,776. And I said, that's good. And I'll tell you what, our military, that was 4 months ago, our military, I never see a person in the military that doesn't thank me for it. So we're honored to do it. They deserve it. And we call it 1776. It was great. And we love our military. We love our law enforcement. We love our firemen. You know, the firemen don't get mentioned enough. We love our firemen. We're also restoring American security and dominance in the Western Hemisphere, acting to secure our national interests and defend our country from violence, drugs, terrorism, and foreign interference. For years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico, have been controlled by murderous drug cartels. That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. We very seriously damaged their fishing industry also. Nobody wants to go fishing anymore. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. You saw that yesterday. In January, elite American warriors carried out one of the most complex, spectacular feats of military competence and power in world history. No one's seen anything like it. Foreign leaders, I won't tell you who, called me and they said, very impressive, very impressive. They couldn't believe, they all watched, they saw what happened. This is a different fighting force that we had years ago when we fought to tie. You know, it's a great fighting force. I'm so proud of it. Look at Space Force. Space Force is my baby, because we did that. My baby is becoming so important. And America's armed forces overwhelmed all defenses and utterly defeated an enemy, good fighters, to end the reign of outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro and bring him to face American justice. And this was an absolutely colossal victory for the security of the United States, and it also opens up a bright new beginning for the people of Venezuela. We're working closely with the new president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, to unleash extraordinary economic gains for both of our countries and to bring new hope to those who have suffered so terribly. They really did suffer. With us tonight is Alejandro Gonzalez. She grew up in a tight-knit Venezuelan family and was especially close to her beloved uncle Enrique. But after Enrique ran for office and opposed Maduro, he was kidnapped by Maduro's security forces and thrown into the regime's really infamous prison in Caracas. Alejandro feared she would never see her uncle again. She feared for her own life also. But since the raid, we have worked with the new leadership, and they have ordered the closure of that vile prison and released hundreds of political prisoners already, with more to come. Alejandro, I'm pleased to inform you that not only has your uncle been released, but he is here tonight. We brought him over to celebrate his freedom with you in person. Enrique, please come down.
Fox fails for not being able to show us some of the stuff that's going on right now. Absolutely fails for this.
Thank you, Enrique. Have a good time. Nice to have you back, Enrique. There were many heroes on that January raid to capture Maduro. Really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, planned the mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter, a big, beautiful, powerful helicopter, the massive Chinook, carrying, as you can imagine, many, many American warfighters. Wearing the dog tags, his wife Amy had blessed with holy water before he left. She knew it was going to be a rough one. Eric steered the Chinook under the cover of night and descended swiftly upon Maduro's heavily protected military fortress. This was a major military installation, protected by thousands of soldiers and guarded by Russian and Chinese military technology. How did that work out? Not too good. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight, legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter, to deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine gun stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission, probably would have had to maybe cancel the mission if that didn't happen. Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded, but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets and keep on flying and landing. And people knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife, Amy. Eric and Amy, come on in. So we have a surprise for Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Okay, that's serious. That's real serious right there. Congratulations. God bless to that pilot.
Well, thank you very much, Eric and Amy. Great to get to know you. I met with them and with a lot of their fellow warriors at Fort Bragg recently. You notice the name Fort Bragg, we have it back, we brought it back. We won the First World War with it, the Second World War with it, and then they decided to change the name. So we changed it back. Everybody wanted to change back too. And 10 of Eric's fellow warriors from that incredible night of victory will also be receiving medals at a private ceremony that will soon be held at the White House. And Eric will be there. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. That's a big one. Tonight we've celebrated many truly extraordinary American patriots, but there is one last living legend to honor before we go. He is one more heroic American aviator, Navy fighter pilot. Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions. In the skies over Korea in 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight. Flying through blizzard conditions, his squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. But tonight, at 100 years old, this brave Navy captain is finally getting the recognition he deserves. He was a legend long before this evening. Royce, please stand up, and I will ask the First Lady of the United States to present Captain Royce Williams with his Congressional Medal of Honor.
I wanted the word cuppa, as in cup of tea, I thought would be great to mix with hug. When I saw the
Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday. But you know, that's our highest honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's a big thing, and it's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you both very much, Eric. Thank you. Thank you. 250 years is a long time in the life of a nation, but in another sense, it's really a mere moment in the eye of history. Two of the gentlemen we met in the gallery this evening took their first breaths 1 century ago, 100 years before that, on July 4th, 1826, the author of the Declaration of Independence, brilliant, Thomas Jefferson, drew his last breath. Just a single long human lifespan separates the giants who declared and won our independence from the heroes who stand among us tonight. Everything our nation has done, everything we have achieved, has been the work of those few great lifetimes. In those brief chapters, Americans built this nation from 13 humble colonies into the pinnacle of human civilization and human freedom, the strongest, wealthiest, most powerful, most successful nation in all of history. Americans ventured out across the daunting and dangerous continent. We carved paths through an unforgiving wilderness, settled a boundless frontier, and tamed the beautiful but very, very dangerous Wild West. From empty marshes and wide open plains, we raised up the world's greatest cities. Together, we mastered the world's mightiest industries, shattered history's monstrous tyrannies, and we liberated millions from the chains of fascism, communism, oppression, and terror. Americans lifted humanity into the skies on the wings of aluminum and steel, and then we launched mankind into the stars on rockets powered by sheer American will and unyielding American pride. We wired the globe with our ingenuity. We captivated the planet with American culture. And now we are pioneering the next great American breakthroughs that will change the entire world. All of this and so much more is the enduring legacy, unmatched glory of the hardworking patriots who built and defended this country and who still carry the hopes and freedoms on all of humanity's backs. For years, they were forgotten, betrayed, and cast aside. But that great betrayal is over, and they will never be forgotten again. Because when the world needs courage, daring, vision, and inspiration, it is still turning to America. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. From the rugged border towns of Texas to the heartland villages of Michigan, from the sun-kissed shores of Florida to the endless fields of the Dakotas, and from the historic streets of Philadelphia to right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
That's going to conclude the State of the Union address. The record-breaking, by the way, State of the Union address coming from President Donald Trump. I got a couple of notes here I want to share with everyone here just to get an idea of kind of what I took away from the entire situation with he was talking. I got some stuff I liked. I got some stuff that I didn't like. And some stuff that I'm kind of torn on. I'm going to throw it your way real quick, and then I'll get you all out of here to enjoy the rest of the evening. For those of you who just joined us, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the State of the Union with me. We're building out this YouTube platform coming over on TikTok. So if you are still watching on TikTok and you're not over here on YouTube, you are missing out on the party, and I'd love you to come be a part of this. The link is in my profile on TikTok. Let's talk about it real fast. Yes, that is the record for the longest ever State of the Union address. The previous record was held by Bill Clinton, and Trump shattered that by a lot, by the way. He started around 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're getting up on 11 and some change, almost a 2-hour long State of the Union. So I like to start with what I didn't like, right? I'm this kind of person, whenever someone has feedback for me, give me the stuff I can work on up front, right? Yes, things went great. That's fine. I'll focus on those, but I want to hear what I can improve. And I think there's some things that we can definitely dress up from this State of the Union address. In no particular order, I have to put my number one, maybe my number one, maybe not, but it's close to the top. There's no reason for it to be that long. There's no reason for it to be that long. I think Abe Lincoln is the one who famously came onto a stage after his competitor had spoken for hours and had a very short speech. I believe that succinctness is helpful in situations like this. That's me personally. Obviously, there's no standard for a State of the Union address, so some people may have liked the fact that it was longer. I wasn't necessarily a fan of it. Going back to the beginning, he had mentioned Venezuela, and we all know that Trump has a very unique way of speaking. He speaks in hyperbole, very similar to myself. A lot of times it can come across, especially if you're not from a city environment, you're not from New York, you're not used to people like that. It can come across a certain way, and that's fine. It's never bothered me. I'm not a sensitive type of individual. But when you mentioned Venezuela, what did he say? It was something he said that really got me. He was talking about the oil coming from the country. And while I'm not against him mentioning that, I think he mentioned that they were like our good friends in Venezuela. That's fine too. I wish, and this is beyond the executive branch, I wish more Americans were educated on what is going on in Venezuela, why we went in there, who that individual was, the controversy around it before going on the stage and mentioning that we're friends. Because if I'm the average American, I'm not educated. That's just the way it is in our country. I don't know a lot about political tension and ideology. And I hear that. And let's tell the truth. What are most people going to do after this is over with? If you're on the right, you're going to go watch your right commentators and hear what you want to hear. And if you're on the left, you're going to watch your left commentators and hear what you want to hear. I feel like that was maybe a misfire. I would have worded it a little bit differently. I got to knock him for this part. Don't get upset at me. I know I got a lot of pro-Trump people in the comment section, but I did say this before the State of the Union even started. You cannot take a singular metric of the economy and say it as if the economy's health is based off of that metric. I say this all the times because liberals typically do it. And on this platform, because I say I'm Christian, typically I get a lot of liberals who are upset with me. I have to let the pendulum swing both ways. Standards are standards, regardless of who says it. I didn't appreciate the Dow Jones hitting the metric higher than the next 4 years. Nobody who invests professionally looks at the Dow Jones for any kind of metric. That's something I learned real quick when I was working on Wall Street. Same thing for the S&P. When you say S&P, by the way, that's not enough. S&P 500, 100, 1,000, we're talking about. You probably meant the 500. I got to take some points away for that. Again, I get it, though. If we're talking to the average American who doesn't know about the economy, that's all they ever hear on the news, then you're going to lean in that direction. I just think we have to raise the standard for how we talk about certain things so that instead of it being too complicated, the standard is complicated so it becomes easy for us, if that makes sense. This is not for Trump. This is for the entire process. I have always said this about the State of the Union address. I always will say this as long as this continues going on. The whole my body lies over the ocean, my body lies over the sea game that is played. Can you imagine the calf workout, the thigh workout you got if you were someone that was just standing up, standing down, standing up, standing down, standing up, standing down for every single thing? I'm not saying they weren't applause-worthy situations. Absolutely. I'm just saying that the up and down, me, when I think about a State of the Union address, give me the meat, give me the potatoes, give me the side, give me the dessert, and let's send me on my way. Right. That's just the way I view it. The up and down. However, I'm going to get to the good points later on because this was used to his advantage later on in the speech. One of the quotes that he said, this is the only quote that I have here from Trump that I put in the didn't like category, the constructive. He said, and I quote, and this is his goal: "We are going to have the lowest price for drugs anywhere." Anywhere. I got some pushback on that one. I need to see the math. I need to see the plan for this one. I love the idea. Obviously, concept, phenomenal. Love the concept. Life-saving medication should not cost $5,000 a month. I've always agreed with that. But for something like this, I always warn this to everybody who's followed me before. Never blindly believe anybody. Not a single person, not even myself. Double check everything I say in scripture. Go to your scripture for everything. I would like to actually see the plan for this one. That was news to me. So I'm not going to say that's an immediate misfire. I'm immediately going to say, let me dive into this and to play the advocate for the other side. If I'm an atheist, liberal, purple-haired, stereotypical liberal, I hear this, I immediately fact check it and try to see if I can find something wrong with it. Another thing he did say, I take that back. I had two quotes. He was talking about, I was very disappointed. I'll tell you the truth. We spent a lot of time talking about the economy. We spent a lot of time talking about what we did military operations style. I appreciate it. He barely mentioned religion. He talked about it briefly. I'm happy he brought it up. That's cool. I'm sorry, but MLK's niece is probably going to be disappointed. We did not get that focus on religion, bring back faith that I was hoping for. Again, that's just AT. I'm not in charge, so it's not like he did anything wrong, right? It's just I would have liked to have heard that. But the part that he said that we love religion, this is where we have to remember Trump is not Jesus. Okay, right? He's not perfect. It's going to make mistakes. If I hold him to the standard of perfect, then I'm a hypocrite in myself and my faith. That being said, I would love to see a Christian leader, right? I'm not saying Trump's not a Christian. I don't know the man. I don't sit down and eat with him. I can only go off of what the news shows me. I know the news is biased, so I'm not going to weigh in one way or another on what his faith is. I think to do so is incredibly disingenuous. I just wish he wouldn't have said, "We love religion," because people have taken that and they've said, "Oh, well, sick. I'm just going to attack just Christianity and adopt every other religion that exists underneath the sun." And we see that happening in New York City. We see it happening in Dearborn, Michigan. We see it happening in Minneapolis. Like, we see this everywhere right now. When are we as believers going to take that stand, especially those individuals in leadership positions? When are we going to say, not that we love religion, right? Religion, by the way, that concept being used for all kinds of horrible things to include Christianity. But no, we love Jesus. This is a Christian nation. It's how it was founded. It's easy to prove that. I would have liked to see that direction. No mention of Epstein. No mention of Epstein in the State of the Union. This is one I'm going to put in my didn't like category, because this is something that is very, very front of mind for a lot of the world. I would love to say just Americans. It's for a lot of the world. It would have been a good opportunity for unity. Because that's something that, unless you're just one of those people who says that minor attractive people are a new protected category. I read an article like 2 days ago. I can't remember who put this out, but it was what was it? That pedophilia is not a crime. It's a I can't remember what it is, a preference or something like that, something gross like that. I would have liked to have seen it at least brought up, not by the person screaming in the audience. We'll get to that too, but I would like to have heard it mentioned. That'd have been really great. I wish the entire speech had been the way he ended the speech. I loved the way he ended the speech. It was what I expected sitting down. Talk to me about what the nation is doing. Talk to me about what I should envision. What should be on my heart when I go to sleep tonight? Is it hope for the United States of America, despite the crippling despair that is going through this country? The fact that most people don't have hope anymore, despite the American dream being pitched to millennials. I like the way he ended it, though. I will give him credit for that. Here's some stuff I'm torn on before I get to the stuff that I liked. Y'all don't come at me. Don't get mad at me. Don't scream at me. As much as I appreciate my my battle buddies, and for those of you who are curious why I got so hype about the helicopter, I was in the Army. I was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. This is what I used to do. I have a soft spot for the warrant officers out there, for the pilots out there, for the crew chiefs in the back, for everything that they do. I know that mission that they've flown. I have been a flight lead before. It's a lot of fun, by the way. I know the challenge of that. Is the State of the Union the place for a Medal of Honor ceremony? Is the question I have. I know that ceremony. It's a whole thing that they have to do. I'm grateful that they got it, and one heck of a memory to get your Medal of Honor in front of the world at the State of the Union address. And so that's why I'm torn on this. They deserve the recognition. I think more Americans need to know the people in the military that are doing these missions. We got people who are burning the flag, spitting at veterans on the side of the road. Look it up, right? And individuals who hate the military, who don't understand what the world is really like. Either they think that the entire world hates the United States, very much not true, or that the entire world loves the United States, extremely not true. And I like that we're highlighting these military individuals. So I'm kind of torn on that one. I would like to have seen it as a separate ceremony, maybe something that you get a couple of news sources up here, but then who's going to watch it though? When's the last time you watched a Medal of Honor ceremony? Let's just be completely honest. The last thing I'm torn on here is some people don't like it. Some people are not going to like it. Let me explain why I'm torn. He went hard on the Democrats during his speech. I don't mean just literally looking at them and pointing out, hey, you're not standing up. Y'all are, crazy or whatever it is. But he went even harder beyond just the ideology, the people themselves. And I say this very often because this conversation comes up a lot. I'm not like my brother Wise on a Righteous Perspective or even Crystal Beyond Labels, very plugged into the former politics, the latter into pop culture. I know enough. I know a lot, actually, to be able to have the conversation because it comes up a lot. Again, you can't say that you're a Christian with conservative values without your usual individuals on the left. Oh my gosh, God's not real. You horrible person. He's a racist. How could you fall? The usual stuff happens all the time. We're used to it, right? So I have no issues diving into the political spectrum, but what I've always pointed out is liberalism is a cancer on American society. I will say that until the day that I pass away, unless all of a sudden liberalism becomes something that adopts Christ in the lines of what Scripture says. Fine. But I will never say liberals are a cancer on American society, because then I am saying as a believer that that human being, that person over there, they are the problem, not the sin. Like I was a sinner. Everyone here who proclaims Christ and is born again, you are still, by the way, but you are a sinner living in that sin, right? Whatever that was for you, it might have been that you had a hard time putting down the drink. That's fine. But for them, liberalism is their sin, right? Whether it's the ideology, whether it's the abortions or whatever it is. And so I never, and I will never get behind anyone who looks at the liberal, the Democrat, the whatever, the trans person, whatever it is, and say, you individual person, you're the idiot, you're crazy, you're the problem. And you might be some of those things. Y'all met some people are dumb, right? You might be those things, but the question I have is for the faith. If I'm a Democrat who's watching this, one, I'm shocked. You probably watched one of the other things, but you're already against the person that's up here. Every single live that you see where Trump is discussed, you get your orange person, he's a rapist, he's a racist, and all the things. You always get that. We want those people to walk through the gates of heaven too. Every single time that there's some Republicans up here, you start talking about God, you get those people who say Sky Daddy, or it's not real, or it's fake, or you're an idiot for following it. But we want those people to walk through the gates too. We should love those people tremendously. So it's why when I click on the comments of people who pop up here and all that kind of good stuff, I don't highlight those comments because I know what it's like to be lost. I don't necessarily appreciate the calling out in that sense. However, someone has to point out the hypocrisy. Someone has to, and I wish Fox had done a better job. I'm going to get on them in a second. Someone has to point out that, hey, we're talking about Gold Star families, angel families. Hey, we're talking about people who were assaulted, people who got shot, took a bullet, right, for the mission at hand, right? This is the leadership issue we have in the United States. We would rather elect people who represent us, look like us, or whatever your reason is for voting for somebody, and then have them not have decorum, have them not have respect. I've said this my entire life. I don't care if it's left, right, red, blue. You have to show respect to the individuals who lead the country. Scripture, by the way, for the Christians in the house is very clear on that. No one has been appointed without God's permission. You're supposed to pray for Thanksgiving for your leaders, right? Whether you like it or not, it says it in black and white. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at the person who wrote it, right? And I wish we could find a balance there because, to be clear, you had one guy who got kicked out of the State of the Union address. What did his thing say? I looked it up while he was talking. Representative Al Green, Democrat from Texas, shocked, by the way, for the Texans who are in the House right now, that you even did that to yourselves, right? But he was ejected very early. I think it was like before Trump even really got going. He was ejected. He had a sign that said, "Black people aren't apes." Well, very factual statement. People are not apes. You don't need to put the black in there. We don't do the whole race baiting thing, right? We're Christians or we're not. That's simple, right? But that's something that you don't want to have. How can you be in Texas? And I know the answer, by the way. I lived in Texas. Why would you be in Texas, living in Austin or Houston, whatever district he's from, and say, you know what? Yeah, representative, so representing me, I want somebody who has the power of the House of Representatives to be able to listen to the President of the United States, who was elected by over half of the individuals who live in my country. And because I just don't agree with what they have going on right now, I want him to hold up a sign, get kicked out on national television. I want Representative Rashida, I cannot say her last name, please excuse me, the Democrat from Michigan, to constantly yell at the President of the United States in the middle of his speech alongside Ilhan Omar. She was there, by the way. That's what I want. That's who I want representing me. We have to have a better standard as Americans. And once again, I'll always say, odds are you don't vote anyway. So why are you mad? You had no part to play whatsoever in the conclusion of this country, right? I say conclusion because, hey, if you read it, you know what's going to eventually happen, right? I just wish that we had a little bit more. That's very disappointing whenever I see that. So you do have to call out that. The way we do it, though, has to always be in consideration I'll let y'all decide if Trump went about it the right way or the wrong way. Before I get to the stuff that I like, I'm going to say one more time, I will never, ever, 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 ever use Fox as a live stream for one of these watch parties again, because I like seeing, if you're going to go ahead and call on the people, again, not what I would do. I think that's a little bit too much. Well, it's a little bit too much. There's great Americans everywhere in every single state that do great things for this country who will never be sung about. It doesn't necessarily, I know we get the tears, we get excited, and we should, because those stories are still valid. Just because I may not agree with the environment, the buddy still took the doggone bullet, whether he was recognized or not. I like to focus on the business at hand. That's why I kind of like, okay, you have all these guests up here and all that stuff. Like, okay, both sides do it. Both sides do it for politics. That's fine. But just because both sides do it doesn't mean it's right necessarily. But let's get into the stuff that I really did enjoy. I'm going to start with the beginning. I love, especially after a very controversial Olympics. We had the young Olympic athletes were up here weighing in on political topics as if they went to universities and studied politics and they themselves held office and they were raised around it all the time. And it was one of their passions. And they read books every single day talking about politics. I don't like, in case you can't tell, people who are unqualified talking about things on the world stage. I'll do it because I got 15 people in here. I ain't got 15 million people watching me, so I'm going to keep on doing it. But I do read these things. I do study these things. This is what I do, especially when it comes to faith. Y'all know this is my job. I'm a ministry director, right? So this is what I spend my time on. The Olympics, having people go up there and weigh in on things in their country, especially when most of them were under the age of 21, was not a good look. Especially divided the country. The Olympics is meant to bring together different countries to compete on a stage of friendliness and good competition. It is not a platform for you to start pushing your political ideology. For him to honor the Olympic team after what arguably is the biggest event in the Winter Olympics, especially since the Miracle on Ice in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, that was a huge thing. For those of you out here who are just the Summer Olympics types or just the football, the basketball types, or you don't watch sports at all whatsoever, let me go ahead and tell you the U.S. beating Canada ain't exactly a small thing. In case you didn't know, last time we had to face Canada, U.S. versus Canada in like the cup that we had, obviously Canada won in, right? But it was a whole thing. Like they booed our national anthem. It was like 3 fights in the first 7 seconds of the game. It's a big deal. So I'm happy that he did that. I think that was fantastic. And it's been 46 years, according to Rose down there, since we've actually won something. Since we won against the Canadians for hockey. I will put on here the thing I liked. I did like that he did at least address the behavior of the Democrats. If you've never hosted a live like this, if you've never given a speech before with open audience, maybe you don't know what it's like to have to give a speech while you got somebody screaming in your ear, right? I know Crystal deals with this a lot. I think that she's one of the most hated people on YouTube. It's hilarious to me. But you're on here, you're having a live, and you have the dissenting views. You have the hateful individuals. You have the ones who, like I said before, right? They see you, they see your skin color, like, why do you support this? They see what you say, like, oh my gosh, like conservative Christian, and they immediately assume Republican. They hear Christian, they're like, oh my gosh, God's not real. And then they just keep going. Just keep going the entire time, right? And you have to ignore it. You do ignore it. You get really good at it because honestly, if you've ever been around kids before, same, right? But it must be challenging to do it on the world stage in front of all of Congress. You got people sitting here and screaming at you. I'm happy he at least called it out. Again, y'all know I would have gone about it differently. I do like that he leaned heavily on the economy. One, because he said he was going to. Sometimes it's nice when you see politicians do what they said we're going to talk about, right? But I like that he leaned on it. While I do have my take on the economic principles, the economy is going through a very interesting shake right now. My stance, for those of you who have never heard it before, when it comes to Trump, when it comes to the economy, is I'm going to wait and I'm going to see how his presidential term goes. You are a illiterate, inexperienced fool when it comes to investing. If you are looking at a year's worth of data and you're like, yeah, absolutely. Hey, we're good. We're good. The economy's great. You know nothing about investing if that's the case. And I know that, again, we don't teach Americans. And so all we tell people is the inflation rate, the interest rate every once in a while. Most people know the expression quantitative easing because of the Fed, but have no idea what it actually means. I am happy that he leaned on it, though, because it's something that does impact Americans. I would love to say that we live in a society, in a culture where every single individual is incredibly deeply involved with economics, and we can get deep and we can talk about not just the interest rate, but what's the repo rate looking like, right? What's the money market situation like? But We're not there yet. So I'm happy that he at least gave people something, because at the end of the day, we could talk about the wars overseas. Most Americans have no idea about the concept of violence, let alone wars overseas. So it's not going to really hit. But when you go to bed tonight, when you wake up tomorrow, I all but guarantee, even if you are the believer in the house and you have spent your time with God, hopefully you did, within the first hour of you waking up, some kind of decision you're making is based off of money. It's just the way that it works. And so I'm happy that he hit that. The maximum price transparency line that he had in there, I like that, because if you follow the money in this country, oh, it will be a wake-up call that you will never be able to go back to. You would be surprised how much fraud, waste, and abuse happens in this country. And so having that transparency, it's nice. It gives me slight hesitation, because the same thing as Doge, right? Doge was a phenomenal concept. I will always say that. Its execution was actually pretty decent, but its transparency wasn't clean. The average American couldn't wake up, go online, and easily is the catch, because you could find this stuff, but easily find where the fraud, waste, and abuse was. And the bottom line is the average American doesn't read above an 8th grade reading level. We have functional literature around. We got to find a way to make it transparent for them. So I love that he said that. Probably my biggest love of the night, the Stop Insider Trading Act. I would have loved for Fox to have gotten their life together and turn that camera around. I wanted to see the look in the people's faces who are probably going to vote against this anyways. Let's be completely honest. I don't think this one runs. I'll tell you the truth. I don't think this one passes. I think you'll have a hard time getting Republicans to support this, because the corruption goes deep, y'all. Deep, incredibly deep. I'd love to see it though, because that is what it is. That is insider trading. By the definition of it, it is insider trading. So I'm hoping that they do something with that. I like that he threw this line in here, because a lot of people don't know this. The whole voter ID situation. I asked myself, if I'm a liberal just watching this entire situation unfold, right? And I'm mad at Trump. I've been told that he's a horrible person. And I've been told that when it comes to ID cards, the only reason why Republicans want ID cards is because they're racist, right? KKK and all that kind of good stuff, right? Y'all have heard this before. I'm happy that he did pull out the actual polled statistics. I know I put tongue in cheek real hard when it comes to polls, because what's that sample size? How many individuals? What's their age groups? Where did you get them from? The United States is massive. 1,000 people just ain't representing the entire country. But I know that this one, they did a lot more than those numbers. 89% polled for IDs required for voting. The fact of the matter is, majority of Republicans, majority of independents, majority of Democrats. And so ipso facto, the majority of Americans have no issue with an ID card being required to vote. This one should be such a non-factor and the fastest move through the House and through the Senate that we've ever seen. But when it doesn't go through as quickly, and when you know that 89% of individuals support voter IDs, then you know that your representatives don't actually represent you. A couple other things I have on here before I send you on your way. The home buying ban for corporations, I'm happy that he mentioned it. I talked about it before it started. Again, I've never heard a good argument for why it's okay for corporations to buy up a large amount of land. The backwards logic that it's going to somehow put houses over people's heads easier has never actually been able to hold weight. Erica Kirk and the political violence, I put that in the light category. And I know that tomorrow, those individuals who love Candace Owens, I don't get involved with it, by the way, do not possibly care. I don't do dissension amongst the body of Christ, right? But I like that he brought her up. I like that she brought Charlie Kirk up, whether you like the man or not, whether you like the woman or not. Buddy took a bullet to the throat. Publicly, most people saw it. It was politically motivated. That much has been made crystal clear, unless you buy the conspiracy theories, but it happened in front of everybody. It happened because the man said he believed in God. It happened because the man came out and spoke from his truth, the truth, by the way, if you actually dive into what he was saying. But we live in an environment where both sides do this. I would argue the left does it more, and I can easily support that, but both sides do it. So let's call a spade a spade. We come up and we have such powerful rhetoric. They're Nazis, they're socialists, they're fascists, they're evil, they're racist, they're less than human. You say this enough times, yeah, sure, maybe the individual who is more intellectually gifted, even though that's a stupid concept too, lean on wisdom, amen, right? But maybe that individual doesn't hear that and is like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to go kill anybody because they're not actually racist. But again, the average American is functionally illiterate. The average American does not read. The average American is not capable of handling their emotional regulation. Again, all this stuff is very provable. Read a book, right? So if I know this is the average person and all they do is click on the TV, y'all seen some of my videos and y'all saw the recent one, and all you hear is hyped up people saying, kill the Republicans. Trump deserves to die. And we have to stand up. We have to push back. You've seen people on the left, politicians, where if Trump said this, he'd be in jail, but they've gotten away with it. Go out there to the streets. Take the fight to them. These are real words coming from liberal politicians. Of course, something happened. Of course, someone winds up losing their life in that situation. We can't just pretend like this isn't the case because half the country thinks that Charlie Kirk's a racist. We can't do that. Still a human, still lost his life, still have to talk about it. NATO paying 5% versus less. I put it in the light category. I want to see those receipts, though. I want to see those receipts because that's a really big issue we've had. NATO has never, ever paid their share according to that agreement. We have no business being in that agreement anymore because they have violated it. So if they actually said they're going to pay their 5%, show me the money. Show me the money. Let me see it. Let me see you actually stepping up instead of relying on the United States military to be both your sword and shield, depending on the situation. And we'll call that an absolute win. The last thing I have that I really loved about it, it was a really long State of the Union. There's a lot I could have dove into. There's a lot that I want to hit. I know that Abigail Spanberger is out right now. She is doing her model of the entire situation. Apparently, she's came out the ground swinging. First thing she said is, we did not hear the truth from our president. Let me ask you, the American people at home, 3 questions. Is the president working to make life more affordable for you and your family? She wasn't listening. Is the president working to keep America safe, both at home and abroad? She wasn't listening. Is the president working for you? So she wasn't listening. Great. Happy I didn't catch that, right? But the one thing I like that he said, Chinese and Russian technology. Say it out loud. The strongest military the world has ever seen went into your backyard with 0 casualties, picked an actual leader of a country, we could talk about whether you like it or not later on, and walked away. And it was Russian and Chinese technology. Now, it may sound like boasting. I know a lot of people on the left would be like, oh my gosh, he's just beating his chest. You realize what he really did, though. He made sure that he told the entire world the best technology, because right now, competing against the United States of America, I think everyone will understand and agree, Russia and China, probably the closest when it comes to overall military might and the ability to mobilize force on a world stage. They're the big ones in the field with us right now, but apparently not. We went right by it like it was nobody's business. We've always had the capability, by the way. Hate to spoil that for you. Anyone who's in the military will pretty much be like, yeah, of course, AT, like we always have had that. But most people haven't been able to realize it because we haven't showcased it in a long period of time. The last thing that people saw about the United States military, that's it, just military operations on a grand scale that was on the TV where most people in the world had not, in the first world, I should say, had an opportunity to actually see it, was Afghanistan, right? Again, you ain't got to like it. You don't have to love it. That is just the reality in which we live in. It was the last big showcase for the American military, and that was not a great showcase by any stretch of the imagination. So he makes a good point there. I'd love to hear what you all think about the State of the Union address. I got some more videos coming out for y'all tomorrow, and this platform is going to continue evolving. I am very, very much teasing the idea of a morning show starting next week. We're going to start off slow, like twice a week, nothing too crazy. But I say morning, I mean Good Morning America levels of morning. I want to find the ones who are waking up earlier than even the sun kissing the sky. Let's get the day started off with Christ, give you some information about politics, current events, the world around you, and most importantly, the revival that this country desperately needs. Thank you all very much for being with me tonight. Thank you all for who's here on YouTube, especially. The YouTube is the one that I'm leaning into. So if you really want to support what we're doing over here, that's the way to do it. Slide up on the YouTube. If you see my stuff, drop me a like, please. I like knowing that people are giving me some thumbs up. Drop me a comment because I want to hear from every single one of you. If you're someone who is on the line side of faith, if you're someone who shares the same values as me, know that I love you as my brother and sister and look forward to the day of spending eternity with you. And if you are someone who just disagrees with me, whether with my faith, whether with my political standing, or whether with the way that I look, know that I cannot change any of those 3 things because Christ is King. I have this forehead and had in my entire life, and my values are conservative, and that is the way it is going to stay because I don't believe in some of the things that are being put out from the left. But that being said, I love you all the same, and I'm thankful that for whatever reason, even though you don't like me, you decided to stay here all day long, please know that I see you. I appreciate you. I hope you didn't raise your own blood pressure just listening to me. And you are welcome back here anytime as well. I ask that everyone continues to seek and find Christ. My morning, your morning, what time morning is the question I have for Man Marie. I'm talking like it's morning for everybody. Go look up Good Morning America whenever they come on, and you'll get an idea for that. I'm going to tease that one for you. In the meantime, until I see y'all again, I hope that you have an absolutely blessed night. I hope that you stay safe. And most importantly, I hope that you keep your eyes on God. Read your Bibles, stay educated, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all have a blessed night.